So in this video, I'll be showing you guys how to use the DNA Virtual Chrome. I'll start off by giving you guys a look in the kit and what we get in there. So this kit here is a 250ml kit, but you can go right up to the 4 litre kit if you wish. So first up, we've got the 500ml diamond clear. We've next up got the Virtual Chrome, 250ml. We've then got the key clear in a 250ml. We've got the pure black Basecoat, 250ml. We've then got the Basecoat reducer, 250, the FX hardener, 250ml, key clear reducer, 125ml, key clear hardener, 125ml, FX reducer, 125ml, and also last we've got the microfiber cloth, which I'll take you guys through how to use that later on in the video. So we've also got the technical data sheet, which is worth having a read through. I also decided to buy the specific chrome gun that the DNA guys recommend using with their DNA Virtual Chrome product. So it's got a 0.8mm fluid tip on it. You may be able to use a 0.6 as well. I'm not sure, haven't tried it, but I can't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to. So this is what I'm going to be using the Virtual Chrome for. This was for a customer. It's for this Mark 1 Cortina I've been doing, and I just thought, hey, that matte silver looks okay, but the Virtual Chrome will probably look totally awesome. Now prep work is pretty important. Any sanding scratches will show up obviously in your chrome. It's just like silver base coat basically, but it's just going to show up even more because it's chrome. So I've just got the 800 softback sanding sponges, and that's what I decided to prep it up with. If I was going just a normal color, maybe I would use 500 instead. It might sand it back a little bit quicker and leave you with a few more sanding scratches that you'd probably be able to fill up with your base coat. But being that I'm doing the Virtual Chrome, I thought it can't hurt to go that little bit finer and use the 800 grit. So now the prep work's done, the next stage is to give it a wax and grease remover as you would any other job. Prep work is a little bit more important when you're working with the Virtual Chrome because it's going to show up any more imperfections a little bit more than your normal clear over base. So make sure the booth is as clean as possible. I don't have a full downdraft booth, so I've just thrown some water on the floor and that will help keep the dust down. And I've got my booth coating on the walls, which is a sticky booth coating. So I'm going to also be doing this one as a separate video as candy over chrome. So just giving it a really good wipe down with wax and grease remover, making sure there's no wax or grease left on the panel or no foreign contaminants. Each step of this procedure is just as important as the next, but if you break it down, there's no need to make it confuse you. It did a little bit before I used it the first time. I was a little bit confused because you look at it and there's so many different products that you need to use, but if you follow these steps, then you should be able to get some pretty good results. First up, you're mixing up your base coat. Just normal black base coat is all it is, and that is 1.5 to 1. But again, all of that information is on the technical data sheet, which is why I did say to give it a read through before you start using these products, because some of the mixing ratios may be different to what you're used to with your own base coats and clear coats and all of that kind of stuff. So obviously making sure it gets a really good stir up using a filter. Put it into your normal spray gun. I'm using a 1.4. This is the DeVilbiss GPI. I'm quite happy with how this gun's been going, and you could use sort of anything from 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, even a 1mm I would imagine would be just fine when you're putting your base coat on. It's just clear over base for your first stage. The next stage is to allow it to dry for a couple of days. If you have a spray booth with a bake cycle, they recommend baking it for 2.5 hours before leaving it overnight, and then coming in the next day and applying your Virtual Chrome if need be. Basically, the longer you leave it, the better, because this product is extremely solvent sensitive, and if you were to just leave it overnight without a bake, you do run the risk of having fry-ups and little things going wrong with it and trapping solvents inside there. And yeah, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. You possibly run the risk of losing some of your shimmer out of your Virtual Chrome, and even delamination possibly, I could imagine too. So yeah, make sure you do leave that clear over base as long as you possibly can. So preferably you do it on a Friday night, give it a little bit of a bake, maybe an hour, and then you come back in on Monday, give it a bit of of a dust off, and then you go and put your virtual chrome on. But bear with us, we're not up to that step yet, so we've still got to put our diamond clear over that base coat. So we've got a 2:1 mixing ratio, so 2 parts diamond clear, 1 part fast FX hardener, and then I went about 15% of the FX reducer on top of that. So it's a high solids clear, so make sure you do give it a good stir. And again, obviously after cleaning that black base coat out of the gun, I'll be using a filter and filtering it into the gun, ready to go back over and start spraying it onto the panels. When you're doing this clear coat, it is pretty important to get it on as flat as possible, obviously without getting runs. You don't want to get any dust in it, because any dust that you get in it, you will not be able to denib out, you will not be able to sand that out prior to putting your virtual chrome on. So use a nice amount of pressure. If it's too low, or even if you're using a HVLP gun, I would imagine you would probably get a little bit of orange peel in there, which you don't want. The guys at DNA Custom Paints use the DeVilbiss GTI Pro with the T110 air cap and a 1.2mm fluid tip. So not overloading that fluid, making sure it goes on nice and flat, and keep it really clean. So if you need to, give it a tack rag after you put your black on. If you see any imperfections in it, sand it out before you clear it and recoat it with some black. And yeah, just do your best to make sure it's really clean. All you need is 1 coat of this. I mean, you could put a couple on, but because it's so solvent sensitive, when you do go to put your virtual chrome on, all you're doing is leaving more solvents in there, and you've got the possibility of trapping them underneath your virtual chrome. So 1 coat is preferred. If it turns out that you did get loads of dust and crap in it and you think it was going to ruin your job, again, leave it for a couple of days, bake it out, sand it back, flow coat it, and then same thing, you could leave it for a couple of days before you go and put your virtual chrome on. So I've left this overnight. I baked it for about 2 hours with the infrared curing lights. I brought the lights in here carefully once it was flashed off, because unfortunately I do not have a baking oven, so that's going to be another option, obviously, as long as you're very clean about it and you're not dropping dust all over that fresh diamond clear. Going to be doing these as a couple of just test panels, and maybe a few how not to do, and this one's going to be the candy over chrome. So our next step is going to be to get our chrome on. I've got my mini gun here, that's the 0.8mm. I'll be putting a regulator on because I want to run it at exactly the same settings as they recommend, which were full fan, and then we wind this just about right in, so I go completely in, and then we'll come out just a quarter of a turn, so really not much fluid at all, and then 20 psi at the regulator. And we have our virtual chrome here. Just make sure you always give that a good shake up and run it through a paint strainer. They recommend a 60 micron micro fine paint strainer. Unfortunately, I don't have any of them. I probably should have got one, but I'm just gonna have to run it through mine and hope I don't get any lumps of stuff coming through. So I'm just giving the panel just a quick dust off, make sure there's no dust that has settled on it. Make sure you do not touch this, don't get your greasy fingerprints on it, don't run the tack rag over it. All you really want to do is just get a bit of air pressure, blow it over there. You don't need to use like a massive amount of air pressure, just enough to get any dust that may have settled on the top off. So just as you can see, I just gave the virtual chrome another quick shake up before I put it into the gun, and just using my normal paint strainer. As it turned out, I didn't end up getting many lumps, if any, coming through the gun, so that was fine. But they did recommend using their micro fine strainer because this stuff is very fine. It's obviously a lot finer than your normal metallics. They call it a leaf metallic, so you think of average everyday silver metallic. It's got the aluminium particles in it, but when you look at it in the sun, you can see that each aluminium particle is sitting on a different angle, and what they tell me with this is that each single one of those particles is designed to lay down flat, so you are getting the reflection off each and every single one of those metallic particles to give you the chrome look, rather than giving you a
silvery look. So this is what you're not meant to do. You don't wipe it over with a tack rag, and you can see these once they've been put on. And you also don't want to put it on too heavy or anything like that. I didn't put it on too heavy in this video, but they showed us a demonstration when I went to the training course, and it just sort of starts separating, and it just looks really wrong, and it's probably hard to come back. Once you do that, you're basically at the point where you need to start again, paint your black, and then put your chrome over. So yes, it is a bit of a procedure, but I do believe these guys have something that stands out on the market as far as durability and absolute gloss goes, and the total finish that you can get with it. You may look at this and say, what are you doing, Gunman? You're painting over shiny paint that's fully cured and you haven't sanded it yet. This is not going to stick. But that is the next step. Once we've got the virtual chrome on, we've then left that for a couple of hours. The next step is the key clear, which really makes the DNA product stand out from others on the market, I believe, from what I know anyway. I'm not a chrome expert by any means. These guys are. And what they tell me is that some of the other products on the market do not last as long. Now there is supposedly there's a test called a cross-touch test, so I guess they get a razor blade or something, or they cut into paintwork and then they get some adhesive tape and then they peel it back, and this passes the cross-touch test, so you will be guaranteed adhesion. So if you go and spend all this money on your paint job and then you're loving it and you're worried that it's not going to stick, trust them, it will stick, and it does pass those tests. So these are just a couple of little test panels. I reckon they look quite good, and it shows you that later on you will see that it is easier to do a smaller panel. So on the bigger surfaces, probably a bit more prone to getting some mottle and stuff like that, but perfect for wheels, perfect for this grill, absolutely ideal. I did struggle a little bit with that guard and getting it 100% even, but hey, I'm sure it's something that a bit of technique and practice you would be able to get the hang of, because I've seen some of the Vodafone race cars and they look absolutely amazing and they've got no mottle in it at all. Yeah, one of those things that the guys from DNA, if you're really unsure about it, I'm sure they'll do their best to help you out if you are doing some bigger surfaces. And they're actually working on making their own video on how to use this DNA virtual chrome, so don't forget, I'm just an independent reviewer at the end of the day. These are all my opinions. They may totally disagree. I might get a phone call from Danny from DNA saying, what the hell did you tell all those people in that video? But I believe I have got it just about right in this video, and I am doing my best at showing you guys the procedure. So again, just do resist the temptation to open that fluid right up and pump it on. You really want to get this chrome on in really light coats, and it does just about dry instantaneously. So as soon as it goes on, because it's basically in that thinners, it's really thin. It's not thick at all like your normal base coats or anything, so you put it on, it's basically dry straight away, so you really don't have to wait long. Obviously the environment you're in, if you're in a really cold environment, you may want to get some heat into your spray booth, and then you can put it on, wait for a minute, put it on, put another coat on, and then you're right to leave it. So that's 4 coats over that grill, and it's actually looking quite nice. I think I'll just put one more over it. As the DNA guys say, resist the temptation to go and put just more and more and more, because you will lose, like the black is actually giving you a bit of reflection to actually make it stand out. You can see where there's a few bits of dust that I had in my DNA diamond clear, and they are showing through, but for what this is, I can guarantee the owner is going to be wrapped, absolutely wrapped with that. One more coat on that, and then we'll leave that for 2 hours is recommended, and then we can give it a wipe over with the microfiber cloth. So in the description of this video, I have included a bullet point list on how to use the virtual chrome. So if you are looking at using it, it really can't hurt to do as much research and read as much as you can, but they've made up a good list here of some bullet points that's going to help you out. And it does mention when you are applying this, you want to keep a nice tight overlap, and that your first coat is a good indication of how you are applying it. So if you're getting a sort of speckled metallic look, and then it's over atom or it's under atomizing, so you want to just get it on 20 psi, nice tight overlap, keep the gun sort of, you know, maybe about 10 centimeters. I can't judge exactly how far that is, but yeah, 5 or 10 centimeters, and just light coats. I did just speed that little bit of video footage up there, so I wasn't going that quick. So that's our 6 coats on, and we've got a really nice shimmering chrome look to it. All in all, I would say probably cheaper than getting it sent off to a chrome joint. We had a quote for $1,500 to do this. Now, that kit that I bought was $417 Australian, and that is a lot cheaper. I could do probably 30 grills with that, even just that 250mm kit. It does go quite a long way, because when you're using that minigun, you've got it wound right in, just that quarter turn out, and you're really not putting much material over that. So ideal for sets of wheels and stuff like that. Anything really, use your imagination. But yeah, next up we're going to be going over it with the, well, we'll leave it for 2 hours first, is what they recommend. And then we'll be going over, letting all those solvents evaporate out of there. It is a very solvent sensitive product, the Diamond Clear. And then we'll be going over it with the microfiber polish cloth, not a tack cloth. Not a tack cloth. You will make a mess if you do it with the tack cloth. You can see here, I was just doing this for a demonstration, and you can see these very slight scratches. Now that was the tack cloth prior to putting the chrome on, and after putting the Diamond Clear down over the black. So I'll do that again, just in one section. I'll tack rag over the virtual chrome, and again we'll see what it looks like. Key Clear is what's going to give us our adhesion. I don't know how it works, I'm no chemist, but I am assured that it does work. Supposedly they've done the cross-hatch test where they cut into it and then they get an adhesive tape and peel it back, and you will not get any delamination, they guarantee me, with this product. So I believe it is one of the, it's a very standout product on the market. It's something that's durable and that will last. I don't believe any other companies have a chrome paint that is quite like the DNA. It is a little bit of a process, but follow the steps. It's not, don't be scared off of it. It's just a little bit confusing at the start when you see how many different products you get, but as a spray painter, keep it simple, stupid, as they say, and yeah, you shouldn't have any problems. So next up, just mixing up the Key Clear, which is 5 parts Key Clear, 1 part hardener, and then a further 1 part reducer. So it's not overly thick. All you need to do when you're applying this is 1 closed coat, which basically means that you can no longer see through to any of the base coat underneath or any of the virtual chrome underneath. And again, obviously strain into your spray gun, and you're just about right to start getting your Key Clear on, just before you wipe it down with this microfiber cloth. Now, I would recommend using the one they supply. I wouldn't just go and get one from Super Cheap Auto, because this is an extremely fine microfiber cloth and it's not like the ones that I use for polishing. So just give it a very light wipe down, somewhat similar to when you are using a tack rag. Now, I didn't quite realize what was happening when I did this, but there was 1 or 2 spots I probably didn't wipe over enough. And then when I got it out into the sun, I could actually see a little bit of sort of misty overspray. On those smaller shapes, it was barely noticeable, but on this grill, and there was also a couple of little bits on that guard that I was doing, the candy over chrome, that I didn't quite get all of the misty overspray off, and you could actually see it when it was out in the sun. I couldn't quite see it in the booth at the time when I was doing it, but then when I got it outside, I was like, oh man, a bit of a letdown. But at the end of the day, it was just a few test panels on that candy over chrome anyway. Now you may notice here that as soon as I put that Key Clear down, you're actually losing a little bit of gloss, but don't get too stressed. As that dries out, you will actually pick that gloss right back up, and it's not going to be too much of an issue. So you can see it's dulled off a little bit, but that will come back up once it dries down. And the Key Clear, you really don't want to just go and smash it on. Just get it on in a nice closed coat, just enough to cover the surface of the virtual chrome. So you don't want it running, obviously, but you also don't want it too dry that you can still see underneath to the virtual chrome. I've got the gun set at 2 full turns in with the fan. I've got it at 25 psi, maybe a touch higher than that, and I've got the fluid wound out 3 turns. Again, these settings will change depending on the gun that you're using and the setup that you've got, but that's a good rule of thumb. Wind that fan in a little bit, have the pressure up nice and high. If you've got it too low, it's going to be going on really thick and chunky, but you don't want that. And just wind that fluid in so it's not too much fluid coming out. So yeah, I had it at 3 turns, which is just fine. You can change it around a little bit and change your technique to suit, but there you go. So that's the key clear down. I'm just going to be leaving that for 15 minutes, and then I'll be mixing up some diamond clear. I'll put 2 coats of that over it. So the diamond clear's being mixed up at the same ratio as I mixed it up at the start of the video when I went over the black, which is 2:1 plus 15% reducer. I obviously gave the gun a quick flush through with some thinners to make sure that there wasn't any key clear left in there, and then exact same gun settings as I used for the key clear, and just putting another couple of coats of this over the top, leaving it for 15 minutes in between each coat. Make sure you do check out the DNA Custom Paints website. So it's dna/paints.com, and if you go there, you'll see that they've just had a big upgrade on their website, and it's looking all pretty. If you want to place orders, you can go straight there and make orders anywhere around the world. I'm pretty sure they'll send them products. Obviously, locally in Australia, there are distributors in every major city. I've found DNA a pleasure to do business with. They've always been very helpful. Anytime I've had an issue or anything like that, they've done their best to resolve it and give me the best information on how I can go and use their products and achieve the best results. They've got a great range, they really do. They've got loads of different candies, loads of different flakes, night moves, holographic flakes, and look, that's just to name a few. I really do recommend jumping over and checking out their website. So that's the virtual chrome done on that grill, and it's looking pretty awesome. This was the example of what happens when you try and tack cloth it. You can see how it's gone and actually scraped off a little bit of that virtual chrome under there. And this one is just with less of the chrome, so that was about 3 coats. And this one here on the grill was about 5, so you can see it goes a bit more silver, but you get a bit more reflection the less that you put on. And it's entirely up to you, the kind of look that you're after. There's a quick look at the candy over the chrome. I'll be making another separate video on how to spray the candy over chrome. Yeah, it looks pretty awesome there. So yes, you can see a little bit of modeling in that guard, but I'll go right through that in the next video and see if we can try and figure out some ways to reduce that next time on the larger panels. But there you go, this is the grill back on the car, and I reckon it looks totally awesome. Way better than the matte silver, which was originally what we were going to put on it. I'd already painted it, and then I just decided, you know what, I've got this virtual chrome now, I can't take it with me overseas, so I may as well use it because it's a dangerous good and they wouldn't have liked me to take it on the airplane with me, so may as well use it up on this customer's car here. He's absolutely wrapped with it. I reckon it looks perfect. Oh, there's that little bit where I had to fix a scratch where I scratched the top of the door when I was putting the rivets on for those moldings. But yes, the Mark 1 Cortina is coming along nicely. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Give it a big thumbs up. Now you've seen this video, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.